Hi guys, how you doing? Hello once again. How has been your week? Hope you have been having fun. Hope everything has been going well. Today there's an interesting article which we are going to be treating, and this article, why I'm actually happy today is because I was speaking to a licensed immigration consultant, and he was actually letting us know that some of the jobs that are also available are linked to some of the companies, you understand, that are listed in this article. So today, I'm so glad, I'm so happy because if you want to actually get jobs, it's not easy, and there's no guarantee that you would get selected. Do you understand? There's no guarantee that you get the job. But if you are the kind of person that you are not just the average person, do you understand? You are not just the average skilled worker. You are someone that really has something to give. You are someone that you are really very much in demand. Your skills are in demand. Do you understand? Your experience are top notch. Your knowledge is vast in these areas. Then you can actually get selected. You can basically get a company that is going to pay you, or a company that is going to assist you with your immigration to Canada. You understand? So it is not something that is available for everybody. It's not something that every nook and cranny will get, every Jack and Harry. So nook and cranny, every Jack and Harry will get. These are jobs that are top notch. These are jobs that are very much in demand. These are companies that are not here to play. You understand? They are not here to play. They are serious. They mean real business. They are not here to play. So if you don't have what it takes, you can't get the job. If in fact my our licensed immigration consultant was telling me that these companies receive thousands, like literally thousands of applications for jobs. Do you understand? On a monthly basis. So if Nana Zula, thank you very much for liking live session on TikTok. So if you are not like the person that maybe, for instance, the ATS, the application tracking system, you have made it, or you have used it to actually um, analyze your CV, your resume. And of course, it has to be a Canadian style resume. It can't be any other thing unless you are not yet serious. So, but if you are really ready to get a job that would practically help you under the category based draws of express entry, then listen attentively, because these are companies that are ready to employ you, but you also have to have something to give them in return. You also have to be very highly skilled. You have to be very well experienced. You have to have the knowledge it takes to actually work in those companies. So today, yes, I gave a long intro today because of how happy I am about this opportunity. But today we want to talk about the top Canadian employers. Now, listen, the top Canadian employers hiring for jobs qualifying for category based draws under the Express Entry program. And just like I said earlier, these are jobs, or these are companies that have jobs that are readily available, but it's not for everybody. So I have to put that kind of disclaimer. It's not for everybody. If you are not someone that has what it takes, if you are not someone that you are willing to give it all your shot, if you are not someone that you are patient enough, if you are not someone that you want to come into Canada, but you want to give something in return, then don't even bother. Because some people have been reaching out and say, "Yeah, do you have job? Do you have work permit? Do you have these things?" Yes, our licensed immigration consultants can assist those who want to get jobs. You understand? But you also have to be that right candidate. And how will you know you are the right candidate? We'll talk about it today. So in today's live session, we want to talk about the article that was written by Ashesh Musapeta on cicnews.com website, which is the Canadian Immigration and Citizenship News platform. And as I've always said, we are not the owner of this platform. We always make use of this platform sometimes to talk about and to review, you understand, what is currently going on in Canada. Because many people always feel that, oh, Aziz, you are writing newsletter article. How are we going to be sure that what you are writing is intact, or is, you understand, confirmed? Well, this is a platform different from A.O.S abroad, different from A.O.S academy, different from our own company. And this is a website that if you even look at the trend, if you look at the years they have been into it, is a matter of decades. You understand? So anything they see is legit. But why am I saying this and putting this disclaimer? Because the article was published, the article we want to talk about today was published July 11th, 2025. But I was still talking to our licensed immigration consultant yesterday, and he was letting us know that some of the companies, not all, he said some of the companies that they listed in this article, you understand, he actually assists people to get jobs in them. You understand? He is someone that has links, basically, that has links to assist. But even if he has links, it's not for everybody. That's what he told me. He said there are some people that whether I like it or not, he has tried to help them get jobs. They cannot get job. You understand? Because you don't have the skills, you don't have the experience, you don't have that knowledge it takes to work in those companies. That's just the truth. It's the truth. So before you come reaching out that say, okay, please help me get job, help me do this, you have to look inwards. What do you have that this company needs? Because that's to be a give and take. Don't just be one-sided, thinking just one way that okay, you just want to come into Canada and one company must hire you. No, what are you willing to actually give that company? What are you willing to, you understand, use to work in terms of your skills, your knowledge, your experience? What do you have that shows that you are hot cake, basically, not any other person out there? Do you understand? Now let's move on. So in the article, it states Canada's top employers hire for a range of positions across several industries and sectors, many of which are eligible for category-based selection through Canada's express entry system. Now you have to understand, when we're talking about category-based selections, these are occupations that are already in demand. They are occupations that Canada already need professionals to fill in those roles. So whether you like it or not, when you come into Canada self, they'll be fighting for you like this, that come and work with me. Do you understand? But before they can fight for you, you have to be someone that you have what it takes to actually work in those companies. Do you understand? So if you have in this place, they don't really need you even having years of experience. If you have years of experience, it's even better. It's better because the more points you are going to get is going to be based on the experience, the years of experience you have. But in this, if you have at least 6 months full time continuous work experience in any of the eligible occupation, then you can actually qualify for this category-based draw under express entry. And please note, it's not compulsory, just like they said, for you to get an LMIE sponsored job offer. You understand? It's not really compulsory to get that job offer before you land in Canada. If you even remember, express entry, or let me say IRCC, have removed points for LMIA sponsored job for express entry. But now people don't know because our consultant was telling us. He said, yes, express entry have removed points for LMIA sponsored jobs. Do you understand? But provincial nominee programs, PNPs, are still selecting people, and the basis of their selections sometimes have been for those who have job offers in Canada. So even if it may not be working for the full express entry profile or program, you getting a job in Canada can also help the PNP, the provincial nominee programs that are available in the 9 to 10 different provinces apart from Quebec. Now, even in Quebec, yes, Quebec Skilled Worker Program, or perhaps the new program, which is the selection program, now requires you to have a job offer, basically, apart from you just being in a rural area or you being a francophone. So if you have a job offer, though it's not compulsory, there are different streams, and there's a stream that requires you to have a job offer. There's another stream that doesn't require you to have a job offer. But the one that requires you to have a job offer, if you are very much in demand, you have the skills that it takes, the knowledge that it takes, the experience that it takes, you can actually get selected, or you can be given that job basically from that, you understand, employer. So moving on, the qualifying, if you want to qualify for a category-based draw, or basically, as I said, qualifying for a category-based job increases your chances of receiving an invitation to apply IT for permanent residency, through the express entry system. Thank you very much, Mazida. So what we are trying to say is, if you are someone that you are very much eligible for category based draws, you stand a higher chance to get selected than someone that is not actually eligible for that, you understand, category based draw. So this article that we are talking about to get today covers which of the Canada's top 100, basically 100 employers, according to Forbes, that are currently hiring for jobs that qualify for category-based what? Category-based jobs. And these, in fact, many of these companies are multinational companies. They are international companies. They are foreign, local, and interprovincial companies. So the fact that, oh, I want to come to Ontario, okay, I'm still working on Alberta. You can virtually get selected, you can get invited, you can get employed with these companies. If maybe you're in Ontario, going to Alberta, you're going to Manitoba, you're going to, you understand, Prince Edward Island, you can basically get selected in many of these provinces because these companies are interprovincial, multinational, and everything in between. Do you understand? So let's move on. They said, if you are currently seeking a job in Canada, listen, if you are currently seeking a job in Canada on an open work permit, maybe for instance, you got your open work permit, maybe for instance, your spouse came into Canada as an international student, and by virtue of your spouse being an international student, you got the spousal open work permit, then listening, you have the opportunity to get employed and you intend to pursue permanent residence. Maybe your spouse is still a student, but you want to start pursuing permanent residence through the express entry, you may wish to actually prioritize roles that allow you to build category-based selection eligible work experience. Now look at this. This is very important too, because some people have been reaching out to me. Some are outside of Canada and some are already inside Canada. And people always feel when you're inside Canada, your problems are all solved. You don't have any issues again. It's a lie. In fact, some people, if you don't plan well, when you come into Canada, that's when your problem starts. So there are some that have been reaching out that they need jobs. Yes, they have the work permit, they don't have jobs. Some people wondering, how can you have work permit? Yes, if you are coming from maybe Nigeria or any country abroad and you are coming as a spouse of an international student, for instance, you may not have jobs before you get that work permit because the basis of the work permit you were given was the basis of your spouse that got or that had the what that had the study permit. But for many people, is when they come here, or even people that are even refugees, for instance, if they are refugees or they are claiming asylum, basically, they may give them work permits. Okay, go and look for a job. You don't need to get a job before you get those kind of work permits. Do you understand? It is only when you are coming from outside of your home country and you don't have a spouse in Canada, you don't have anybody in Canada, you want to apply for work permits. And for that kind of case, if you want to apply for work permit, you have to first get a job that would actually be an LMI sponsored job before you get that job, basically, or before you get that work permit. But in this case, it's different. So in this article, we are going to provide a basic overview of which positions correspond to the eligible National Occupation Classification, the NOC rules, and include it based on the ones that are included in the express entry categories. Though this is not an exhaustive list, you understand? It's not an exhaustive list. In fact, our immigration consultant still told me that there are some companies that are still employing, you understand, in Canada, which allows or are qualified for the category-based selection draws, but are not necessarily on this list. So it's not an exhaustive list. You can still see another company apart from the ones that are listed here that are still employing and are legit, basically, because when you go browse maybe Corporations Canada or you browse Ontario Business Registry or any other, you understand, business registry, and you see the name of the company, then of course they are companies that are registered in Canada. And if you go to check their portfolio and you see that yes, these companies have LMIA or they can issue you job offers, then you can actually get that. No issue. It's not compulsory they are listed in this place. Now, roles hired by companies are also subject to changes based on the company's changing needs and operations. So sometimes, especially those that are in healthcare, Yeah, those are healthcare. It actually affects them. Sometimes they may need home caregivers. Sometimes they may just need someone that is an home provider, a childcare home provider that is not a home caregiver. Need changes, roles changes. So the fact that okay, a company employed so person that is maybe a living caregiver, and now it says doesn't want home living caregiver again, but wants, you understand, a home provider, childcare provider. You need to fine tune your CV, fine tune your experience based on what they currently need. Do you understand? Because their needs changes and sometimes their operations changes, right? So to determine whether a role posting corresponds to an eligible national occupation classification code, closely compare the roles and the duties of the posting with the corresponding NOC code. Now, let me break that down. Sometimes many people will just go online. Oh, I'm a caregiver. I'm looking for caregiver roles. But you are a caregiver, but the experience you have is a living caregiver, is not the experience of a child care provider. Or let me even leave the healthcare sector. Let me talk about truck driving. Yes, you are a truck driver, but there are different kind of trucks. Do you understand? You may well know how to drive small trucks. You understand? Or let me call them vans, for instance, but don't know how to drive big trucks or even trucks that have two containers at the back of them. They have different licenses, or how would I call it, specializations for it. So if you are just looking for truck driving jobs and you don't fine tune, you don't look down, you don't analyze that, okay, this kind of one, what are the roles that I'm going to perform? Am I going to, sorry about that, something is in my mouth. Mm. So am I going to drive a normal truck, just one truck, or the one that has two? And how they have their jargons, they have what they say when they are seeking someone to work in there. So you have to look into is that okay, which kind of license do they need? Is it the A to Z license, or is it normal the G license? Is it the full G license? You have to check all those things to be sure that what you are currently applying for is what they need you. So basically, a job role, a job vacancy can just say they need truck drivers. But you are a truck driver, you may not qualify for that role, even if it just says truck driver, if you don't look at the role and the responsibilities and the duties you have to do in that, you understand, in that firm. Do you understand? So, for more information on selecting the correct NOC for a job, you refer to the NOC website, not even only the dedicated article on this, but the NOC website. If you click on Google, you just see NOC code Canada 2021, because yes, the 2021 is the latest version. So when you just look at NOC Canada 2021, it's going to show you their website for Canada's NOC, and you'll be able to actually put down your information. Maybe, for instance, you're a driver, you're a plumber, an electrician, you're a doctor. You'll be able to put that down and know the exact one for you. Now, note, organizations in the public sector are required by law to prioritize Canadian citizens and permanent residents when hiring for positions. And this is why I always tell people, if you are back home in Nigeria or back home in any other country, India, Ghana, Cameroon, and places like that, you have to understand that public sector organizations will first employ people like us, as permanent residents or Canadians first, before they think of employing you. Do you understand? Why? Because they want people that are residents already. You can come from abroad and take the jobs of, you understand, Canadians or permanent residents, because they give us more priority than you that you are still back home. Do you understand? But these requirements can increase the barriers to entry for foreign nationals seeking employment within the public sector. So it may be wise of you, instead of you focusing on the public sector, to focus on what? On the private sector. That does not mean that you cannot get selected under the public sector. You might be opportuned, but it's going to take more time. It's going to take more proofs to show that why can't they get Canadians or permanent residents to do that job, and it is you coming from outside. For instance, I remember the job that I do always talk about very well, that many people have been virtually asking of since the year 2023 from me, is the one that relates to the Canadian Navy, right? For many of you that are here, you knew, or basically, or some people know that I applied for the Canadian Navy. I shared the content the other time about how the process of the vetting went, how the selection went, how the training, or let me say the test training actually went, how we prepared for the CFAT, how all those things that we did it because, or we were allowed to do it, we were allowed to apply, we, we were allowed to go for the test training and things like that because we were permanent residents. Do you understand? Someone that is not a permanent resident or a Canadian cannot join the Canadian Army, talk less of the Canadian Navy. Do you understand? So different jobs have their different requirements. Do you understand? So organizations in the public sector are denoted as such in the title of what? Of their section. Now let's look at the companies. Here we want to look at the companies that are currently employing people or candidates in, okay, Mariam Rosemary Yakubu is asking, will I still write IELTS too? Well, that's Mariam Yakubu, Rosemary from YouTube. It depends on how you want to come into Canada, right? If you want to come into Canada as a temporary resident, you may not need to write IELTS. Do you understand? What do I mean by temporary resident? Oh, okay. You want to come into Canada as someone that just got a job from overseas and wants to come work here as a temporary foreign worker. You understand? And you just have maybe like a 1 year contract or 2 year contract. You may not need to write IELTS. Do you understand? Especially if the company doesn't really require it, because it's the company that will really decide. If the company does not list IELTS part of what you require, you may not need to write IELTS. Do you understand? If you want to come into Canada as a student, as an international student, that's also a temporary resident in Canada. You may not need, if the school that you are going to, so that boils down on the fact that how are you researching the schools? Did you research schools that don't require IELTS, that don't require PTE, CELPIP, and the rest? If you research schools that don't require IELTS, then you are not going to need to write IELTS, because I know many people always going away from IELTS. They're always going away from language exams in general. In fact, people will say, "Oh, because I am a French teacher," they will tell me, is IELTS that I know that is in our French, I'm not come and learn. I understand that nobody forces you to do anything. If you want to come into Canada, you have the money. Someone still asked me today that, oh, how is study permits working in Canada? And I said, yes, if you have the money, it all boils down on the money. You understand? You have the money, you have what it takes, you have the eligibility. One of the things that makes you eligible, one of the criteria that makes you eligible is the funding. In fact, lately they have increased the funding that you require to come study in Canada. So if you can basically afford it, of course, you can come into Canada without writing IELTS. Some people that are coming to Canada are visitors. You understand? If you are a visitor, you want to come into Canada as a visitor, of course, you can actually come into Canada as a visitor without writing IELTS. Those are what we call temporary residents. Temporary residents are visitors, international students, temporary foreign workers. Those don't necessarily need to write IELTS. But if you are coming in as a permanent resident, people like us, when we were coming in, I do always tell people my story. I wrote IELTS 3 times. People always think, this guy, you failed, gone. Yeah, I will not do. Yes, I failed. I will not like, even French. I was a French teacher in Nigeria before coming to Canada. I still failed French 3 times. Wondering that, with all your French and everything, I know, yes, I failed. No time. But the truth about it is, you never fail until you give up. Do you understand? You never fail until you are fed up and you say you are no longer doing. So even though I was failing, at the end of the day, I was preparing again to go write it and to make sure that I actually get what I needed from it. So, but if you don't want to go through the stress, of course, you can come in as a temporary foreign, as a temporary resident. But many people don't just know that even if you come into Canada as a temporary resident, if you now want to stay back permanently, what you were running for before in your own country, you may have to come and do it, except if you go through the asylum pathway. And of course, everybody knows what the asylum pathway is saying now. So now, okay, Maltrift is asking on TikTok that how do you prove POF? Okay, explain POF. How did you prove your own POF? Oh, okay. You're asking me about my own particularly right now. Well, POF, which is proof of funds, is a vast topic. POF is something that you need to have a lot to, or not really a lot, you need to have your facts right about POF. Now, depending on how you are coming, because since you said I should talk about my own, I came in through permanent residence, and that's the one I'm going to talk about here. If you want to come into Canada as a permanent resident through whether express entry or provincial nominee programs like we're talking about, or programs like that, the requirement by law is that you show in your account that you have some certain amount based on your family structure. Do you understand? Based on your family structure. So if you remember, if I remember vividly, in my own time, it was about $16,000 roughly. It was less than maybe like 15,000 something, but $16,000 roughly that I needed for myself and my common law partner. Do you understand? And what did I do? What I just did was, oh, okay, this is what I needed. This is how long I needed it, because you need to have it. They will say 4 to 6 months, but most times I don't really like focusing on the minimum, because minimum at the end of the day, if you're not sure, you can get short of it. So instead of minimum of 4 to 6 months, or even the 6 months itself, I said, okay, let me just get a proof of funds and show the inflow and the outflow of money going into and outside of in my account for 7 8 months. I think at the end of the day, I will increase it to 1 year. Do you understand? Because I don't want any stories that touch. You understand? I don't want any stories that touch. So, and I remember I came into the provincial nominee program under the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, right? So that program required me to apply to the province of Ontario first before I applied to the federal government of Canada. So I had to show two separate proof of funds, or let me say two continuous proof of funds. The first one I remember that time was like from January to June, you understand, for the provincial nominee program under Ontario, and I had to now show later on July to December for the what do you call it, for the federal government after I got my invitation to apply for, you understand, for permanent residence. Now, the bank statement was the major thing I used, because many people say yes, there's gift deed, there's investment portfolio, we have those GIC, there's this, there's that. Well, see, me, I don't like something that is complicated. You understand? Anything that is going to give me issues, I don't want it. You understand? So I use just the proof of funds. There are other things that work, don't get me wrong. There are other things people use. You understand? Your assets, your this, your that. But what was very simple for me was, oh, guy, you needed this amount to be in your account. Yes, you can be running the account so through making use of funds and things like that, but you just needed this amount. So I made sure that even if I'm putting money in, taking money out, the balance was that $16,000. Do you understand? At every step of the way while I was working on my own, you understand, permanent residence. So I made sure that that amount was there, you understand, and I could actually remove it. It was accessible, because that's one of the reasons, that's one of the conditions, that it has to be accessible, that you can use that money anytime they actually require it from you. Okay, cool. So you say yes, I understand. All right, more truth. Thank you for that question. I think we're getting some other responses. Okay, Mariam Rosemary Yakubu from YouTube is saying permanent resident. Okay, so if you are coming in as a permanent resident, I think you are the one that asks, will I still write IELTS too? You know, many people always think about IELTS, but I do tell people it's not compulsory to write IELTS, even for permanent residency. Yes, you heard me right. It's not compulsory to write IELTS. There are 3 exams, for God's sake, for English language proficiency. If you don't write the IELTS, you can write the CELP. If you don't write the CELP, you can write the PT. When I say this, people are just vexed at the end of the day. That maybe you still write one exam. I say yes. You still have to write one exam, especially if you are the permanent resident principal applicant. But it's not compulsory to write IELTS. So you can go for any of those other exams. Okay, you don't even want to write English exams. And that's where me I always talk to people about, okay, if you don't want to write English exam, you can write French exam, maybe like TEF Canada or TCF Canada. You understand, for the general Canadian provinces, or DELF exam for the Quebec province. Okay, I think we're getting a lot of questions here. Let me see. Okay, more Thrift is asking, won't they ask where you got the money from? Yes, more Thrift from TikTok. Something about Canada is be upfront about things. Talk about what you do and how you do what you do and where you get the thing that you put, which is the document, the bank statement. Talk about it before they even ask you. That's my own philosophy, and that's, in fact, I remember my licensed immigration consultant will always say he likes, before they ask for something, give it and make sure that they don't have any reasons to doubt you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So where did they get the money from? Like, how did I show that I got the money from where I got the money from? You understand? Because I was working in Nigeria for a firm. You understand? I was a web developer then. I also had my own business, my own side also that later turned into a full-fledged business. So all those, I showed them that yes, I had a profession that I was doing. I also had a business that I was running, because see, they don't mind when you tell them things before they ask. Is if you do not ask that you are trying to now cover up something, they now feel that okay, yes, there's a reason they will doubt you. Do you understand? So I told them, because of course, and I showed them proofs of my business. I showed them proofs of what I do. I showed them, okay, the websites that I build, the monies that I make. You understand? I showed them what they call it. Okay, more thrift is saying, or compare it to your salary. Okay, now this is where you have to now look into your own personal situation. Do you understand? Okay, I've talked about my own, and I said I started a business in Nigeria. I also had my own company that I was working for. Now look at it. That some people use savings. You understand? They use life savings for permanent residency, right? So sometimes it may even be your life savings that you used, because basically I think that's what even happened to me too. At the end of the day, if you look at 16,000, where will someone even get 16,000 in the current economy? You understand? If it is not that you borrowed it, one, two, and of course they don't want borrowed funds, so you shouldn't use that for it. That won't help you. Or they gifted you, that you can use as a gift deed, or you worked for it and you gained it. And because of course it was my own life savings, I showed that through my business and my salary. Do you understand? So you can also use that to show that you, okay, you don't have a business. Oh, okay. Do you have someone that gifted you the funds? That's why some people say use gift deed. No problem. I don't have any issues with that. I didn't use it, so I can't really talk much on that. But that's another thing. People, and there are templates. There are free templates online, which was what do you call it, organization. We have a gift deed that has actually worked for some of our clients before. You understand? For those that join our package, our travel package, of course, if you go on our website, aos.name.ng, you would have access to many of some of those templates and samples that people have used before. Do you understand? Once you sign up for our travel package. Okay. So and you can always go on our bio to actually check the link there, to click on the link and to get access to it. So Montrift is also asking, as a healthcare worker, earn 200K monthly, how will I prove it that you were able to get? Well, Montrift, you have to know how to prove what you want to do. And I think the questions you're asking is much more personal now. So you can book a consultation with us. Go on our link on our bio, book a consultation with us, and we can look into your particular scenario. You understand? If need be, we can also link you up with our licensed immigration consultants, and they could look into your own personal information. They could look into your own personal details and see how they can actually be of assistance to you. Okay. Um, Motrift is also saying, but do they ask for a support letter to how you got them? Now, please, it's getting more personal. Book a consultation. That's the best, because now we have to go with what we have started before. You understand? I would not like to keep people waiting too much. Let's go. Let's go. I have gotten my answer. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Moving on. We were talking about the top Canadian employers hiring for jobs qualifying for category based draws under express entry, right? And we were giving some of those companies. Okay, thank you very much, Montreat, for the likes on TikTok. appreciate that. Okay, wanted to start with one company. Yeah, wanted to start with the list of companies. So the list of companies goes thus. Number one, which of these companies? Where am I saying the companies? Number one is what? Can someone tell me? It's Google. Yes. Google. Google is one of the companies that are employing permanent residents, employing anybody basically that needs a job in Canada. Do you understand? And wants to. And which jobs are they employing for? Of course, Google is a technology-based company in the technology industry. So they are employing for cybersecurity specialists with NOC 21220. And this is one occupation that I've been seeing so much about online. In fact, there's one particular person, I think is in the US, Tolulope Michael, that has been always training people how to become cybersecurity specialists within 90 days. I'm not advertising for him, I don't even know him before, but he's someone that I feel we have been seeing him for more than a year now. He has been running adverts more than a year, and he has been helping people become cybersecurity specialists. You understand? Without he says that without you having a degree, without you having all these bogus diplomas, all these bogus bachelors, masters, and things like that, you can become a cybersecurity specialist with his training. I think his online course. So perhaps you can browse the guy up and see how, if you want to get employed by Google, what you need to actually get to get employed. Now, two, Microsoft. Microsoft is another company in the technology field hiring cybersecurity specialists, electrical and electronics engineers, electrical and electronic engineering technologists and technicians. The Hershey, the Hershey company, um, and they are ranking, they rank the fifth company in Canada, I believe, and into the food manufacturing industry. They actually hire industrial electricians with NOC 72210 Pax Canada is a government environmental industry. They are 12th, they have the 12th rank. They hire electricians, except industrial and power system with NOC 72200. They hire painters and decorators, except interior decorators with NOC 73112. They hire water well drillers with NOC 72501. They hire welders and related machine operators with NOC 72106. And we also have Fisheries and Oceans Canada. They rank the 13th, and they are a government organization. They hire civil engineers with NOC 21300. They hire cooks with NOC 63220, mechanical engineers with NOC 21301. Now, BC, I think that's British Columbia Hydro, they are the 18th in the rankings, and they hire for utilities or energy. And they hire civil engineers with NOC 21300, civil engineering technologists and technicians with NOC 22300. They hire electrical and electronics engineers with NOC 21310. They also We also have Open Text, which is another organization, a software information management organization with the ranking of the 24th company in Canada. They hire cybersecurity specialists, nurse aides, orderlies and patient service associates, nurse practitioners, nursing coordinators and supervisors, and pharmacists. We also have Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario into the healthcare. They hire pharmacists, pharmacy technical assistants, and pharmacy assistants. They hire pharmacy technicians. They also hire therapists in consulting, in counseling rather, and related specialists, in related specialized therapies. We also have the cooperators in the financial services and insurance industry. They hire insurance agents and brokers. We have Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta, is a government insurance healthcare. They also hire physician assistants, midwives, and allied health professionals. We also have physiotherapists that they hire. Now we have Tesla. Tesla is an automotive technology company, and they hire electrical and electronics engineers. They hire mechanical engineers and mechanical engineering technologists and technicians. We also have Fortis. Fortis is a utilities and energy company. They hire industrial electricians, mechanical engineers. We also have Agnico Eagle, and they are in the mining industry. They hire construction millwrights and industrial mechanics. We also have heavy duty equipment mechanics. So these are companies that are currently employing in Canada. Do you understand? So if you fall into, as they said, the technological field, the utilities field, the healthcare, you understand, the energy, you stand a fair chance of actually getting some jobs in some of those organizations. Now, the recent cutoff scores for express entry categories are also covered in this article. If you look at the category for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is the STEM occupations, the latest draw was 491. The drew the cutoff score for the most recent draw for that, which was the lowest one, was 491. While for the healthcare and social services occupations was 504, which is very high, especially for those who are not in Canada. For the trade occupations, that one was actually lower. That one for mechanics or people like that was 433 points. So Canada's top employers, basically, we talked about Google, Microsoft, and the rest of them. If you want to actually get employed through them, you need to, as we said, fall into the cybersecurity specialist role. And as they said, they are ranked. Google is ranked by Forbes as Canada's top employer in the year 2025. So it is a current company that is up, like they are employing back to back. Do you understand? The company has two main offices in Canada, located in Montreal and in Ontario, with the possibilities for remote work as well. So you can work remotely from anywhere you are. But you know, Google is not a small company. So if you don't have what it takes to get employed in that organization, you are not going to get employed, basically. You understand? So Google hires several positions that correspond to the cybersecurity specialist role, and the company averages 4.3 over 5-star review by employees on review sites like Glassdoor and Indeed. You understand? With 3.4 over 5 difficulty reported for interviewing. So you're interviewing, you have to prepare extremely well for it. It's not something that you can get on a platter of gold. You understand? They said close to half of the individuals who received an interview applied online. So that shows that you don't need to go to send a paper application. You can apply online from anywhere you are in the world and actually get a chance to get into the organization. Microsoft is another organization which was ranked Canada's second best employer by Forbes. You understand? And the company has multiple offices across Canada, including in Toronto, in Montreal, in Vancouver, in Calgary, in Edmonton, and Ottawa. So multiple roles also feature for remote work options. So you can basically be outside of the country, get the job before you even land in Canada. Do you understand? You don't need to be in Canada to actually apply for these jobs in Microsoft. Now, the company hires for multiple jobs that could correspond to 3 occupations included in the express entry STEM occupations. Number 1, the cybersecurity specialist job. Number 2, electrical and electronics engineers. Number 3, electrical and electronics engineering technologists and technicians. Do you understand? So I don't want to bore you. I've listed those companies that are currently employing in Canada. So you can actually go on the link, which I'm going to share, to actually look into all these companies one by one. We have the Hershey company, we have the Parks Canada, the public sector. You understand that employs carpenters, electricians, painters and decorators, water well drillers, welders, and related machine operators. We have the Fisheries and Ocean Canada, which we said employs civil engineers, cooks, and mechanical engineers. We have British Columbia Hydro, which is the public sector. You understand? So if you are in those niches, if you are in those sectors, if you are in those organizations, if you are in those occupations, you can actually stand a chance to actually get employed in those industries. You understand? You just have to have what it takes to get into those organizations. And of course, if you need assistance on how to create your Canadian style resume to get a better chance of getting employed in those organizations, you can reach out to us. If you need help in drafting your Canadian style, what they call it, cover letter, or if you also want access to our licensed immigration consultant to assist you to check if you qualify to actually apply in some of these companies. You understand? You can do it yourself, of course, because some people are always asking that, okay, do I need to actually reach out? Can I? Of course, that's why we're having this live session. You understand? The live session is free. The information is free. The information is out there. It is available for everybody. Do you understand? So you can always do things yourself. In fact, I do tell people, I remember when I was working on my own immigration, I worked on my immigration myself because I used to a licensed immigration, a lawyer actually, an immigration lawyer, one of the persons we are currently working with, sadly, even though he didn't help me later, I want to do my own immigration. You understand? So I reached out to him when I was in Nigeria that, oh, please, I want to work on my immigration. Can you? Yeah, he billed me about, I think that was like 2, 3 million that time for the service that I said I needed from him. You understand? Because I didn't have the money, I didn't reach out to him again. So it's not by force. Me too, I've been in that stage. It's not by force. You understand? If you feel you can do it, all you can just do is just go on. Google is your friend. If I chat GPT today, as they say, is your friend, not only Google. So you can just click on it. Google Canada vacancies. Click on it on Google. Chat GPT is your friend. Canadian style resume. It's for cybersecurity specialist, for example. It's going to list it out for you. In fact, it will basically draw out your resume. It will help you with your cover letter. It will help you with every other thing you want. Do you understand? So if you want to do it online, there are free tools online, free things online. But for those who are willing, for those who really want something at least far above the others, if you want something that at least you will speak to a professional, you will talk with people that have done it before, people that have assisted other people to also get jobs, people that have that experience that, okay, instead of the trial and error that you could have done, they would help you streamline what you need to focus on. So that, because of course, getting a job is a job itself. For those that have not known, if you want to get a job, is a job itself. You understand? Because you applying, getting reviews, getting interviews is a whole ball game entirely. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of skills in getting job. It's a job itself, so you have to have the skills to look for a job. You understand? So if you don't want to do it yourself, you don't want to be the loan shark, you don't want to do trial and error, you want someone that has actually done it before, succeeded, and can actually help you out, or someone that has links, as I said, to some of those companies that can actually put a word out for you, you understand, based on your skills and your experiences and your knowledge, then you can actually reach out. You can always go on our bio, just click on the link on our bio and reach out to us. Book a clarity call, a free 5 minute clarity call to actually talk to us, and we can, you understand, see if you are the best fit for some of the solutions that are available to right now. So priority categories for the year 2025, because again, you need to know, even though we say jobs are available, even though we say companies are currently employing, you have to know the priority sectors, the priority categories, so that you are not just going to be applying and at the end of the day you not get selected, or you not even get a job because you are not applying in the right sector that are in demand right now in Canada. Do you understand? So what are the in demand priority categories for the year 2025? Now, IRCC's website currently retains the following express entry categories. Number one, French language proficiency. Now, this is where we at A.O.S Abroad comes in, because we do always tell people many a times, if you are in other occupations, other like countless other occupations that are not part of these occupations that I'm going to list after French language proficiency, but you still want to come into Canada, the best way you can do it, the surest way you can do it, because people are always looking for the surest way. The surest way may be what falls in your own hands, what falls in your own brain to actually, it may not be something you go and look for outside. It may not be something that you go and spend, people that are in the healthcare, for instance, physicians and family doctor. And there's one person that reached out to me during this week, and he's saying, "Oh, I've been working in one organization in a clinic, for instance, in Nigeria, but I don't have the what they call it certificate to show that, you understand, I have that experience. I don't have something to back it up in terms of my education." And the person was asking, what should she do? Should she go back to school and spend 2 3 years before? I said that is an option. It is an option, but the truth about it is nobody can guarantee. Me sef, I cannot guarantee that after you finish your 2 3 year program, healthcare may still be in demand, or that particular occupation that you are doing may still be in demand. Because of course we have seen that sometimes they would add some occupations and sometimes they will remove some occupations. So what you are going to go study in school for 2 3 years, God knows, nobody knows. Yes, healthcare may always be in demand, but it may not be that particular you understand, job that you are currently doing that will be in demand. It may be obsolete before you finish your education. So but if you want something that is sure, something that within few months, if you are very, very serious with it, the French language proficiency is one way you can actually come into Canada. Is a way that you will be hot cake. At least we know that for the rest of this year 2025, French is at the top. We know that one for sure. And if you are serious, we have had people that have been asking, can I really learn French within 5 months? Yes, if you are very serious with it. Can I really learn French within 4? And I do tell people sometimes it's not, people think you have to become proficient, like you have to become experts. You have to speak the French like Ojogbon, like Wale Soyinka level. You don't need it. You understand? You just need to have the conversational level. You just need to be able to basically pass the exam that you write for language proficiency in French language. That's just what you need. So that is the first priority, but it's not the only priority category. Apart from the French language proficiency, we also have the healthcare and social services occupations. Yes, this year they added the social services. It was not added before. So you even have more occupations to actually choose from and more occupations to look for jobs in Canada. We also have the agriculture and agri-food occupations. Even this one, even though they say it's in priority, we have not really seen a lot of people get selected through it, but they say it's still in priority. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM occupations. Of course, they say it's in priority, but we have not really seen a lot of selections through it. But again, it's in priority, and we never know what can happen tomorrow. Trades occupation very much in demand, not only in the federal level, on the federal level, but also on the provincial level. So you can also get selected by maybe province of Alberta, by Manitoba, by Saskatchewan, like Prince Edward Island. You understand, in the trades occupation, very much in demand. Education occupations, we have just had one selection for education for the year 2025, but it's part of the priority categories, and you can also expect to actually get selected later on through the what? Through the education sector. Now, although all these occupations or all these categories remain in place, the department has announced that the priority categories for express entry in the year 2025 are going to be based on the following: French language proficiency, healthcare and social science occupations, trades occupations, and education occupations. And yes, we have seen one draw, one invitation for education. We have seen about one as well or two for healthcare and social services. We have seen a lot, about 3 or 4 for French language. So French has been leading, basically. You understand? Because even the amount of people that they are inviting for French is more than other, you understand, categories. So that shows that these priority categories are being focused on, because these are the ones that will receive focus for ITs, invitation to apply for permanent residents through the category based draws in the express entry system for the year 2020 what 2025. So eligibility criteria for category based draws. How do you know that you are going to be eligible for category based draw? So to receive an invitation through the category based draws selection rounds of invitations under the express entry system, you must meet both of these eligibility criteria. The specific eligibility criteria for the category, maybe like French category, you need to have the category criteria for that. And two, the general express entry requirements. What do we mean by these two things? The requirements for occupational category eligibility. For a category based draw, candidates must meet the following conditions. Number one, as I've said before, you must have 6 months of continuous work experience in a single eligible NOC code. Maybe if, for instance, you want to come in to Canada as a painter, do you have that 6 months of continuous work experience? This experience can be full time for 6 months, or it can be the equivalent amount of part time work. That is like 1 year of part time work. And the work experience must have been acquired in the past 3 years before you submitted your express entry profile. So let's say today is August 2025. From 2022 down to 2025, or 2023 down to 2025, you need to have had or have accumulated those work experiences. You understand? And work experience does not need to have been in Canada. You can be in any other country of your choice. Do you understand? the eligible work experience can have been gained anywhere in the world. Do you understand? Anywhere at all overseas. So, what are the general express entry system requirements? For these ones, they said you must meet the minimum criteria for express entry, which includes being eligible under one of the three federal immigration programs, whether it be the Federal Skilled Worker Program (FSWP), the Federal Skilled Trades Program (FSTP), or the Canadian Experience Class Program (CEC) draws. And in addition, you must all satisfy the requirements outlined in the instructions for the specific draw as they are seen in the IRCC's Minister's Instruction Round. Now, when a category-based draw round is held, you need to know that candidates in the express entry pool are filtered by those who meet the category requirements. You understand? And are then ranked amongst themselves based on the what express entry's comprehensive ranking system score. So, for instance, let's put it in perspective. If you are a teacher, a secondary school teacher under the education sector, and you want to get them selected for permanent residence, you are going to compete with other teachers, other secondary school teachers in the express entry pool, but they are going to rank all the teachers based on the CRS points they have. So if you had maybe 400 and there's another teacher that has 450, they will pick that first teacher first before they pick you. It is only if they still need more people and you fall into the category they need, they may now pick you that are having the 400 points. Do you understand? So candidates who have a CRS score at or above the cutoff, just like I said, if the cutoff was 420, for instance, for a draw, and you had 400, you won't get selected. You understand? But if the cutoff was 410 and you had 450, you will get selected because you are above the cutoff during the time of that draw. You understand? And of course, it's not that you are just above, you have already created the express entry what candidate profile, because some people will just be using the tool, the express entry CRS tool, to calculate their CRS, but they will not create a profile. You are shooting yourself on the leg. Create a profile quickly, especially before the time listed in the tie breaking rule. You understand? Are invited to apply for permanent residence, because we have seen scenarios whereby Canada will say the tie breaking rule for this particular draw is maybe like April 12, 2025, and you created your own profile around May 12, 2025. You will not get selected even if the CRS points that you had was more than what they actually had for cutoff. Let me explain. Let's say you had 450 points and they pick people with 435 points. Normally, you are meant to get selected, but the time you applied, the time you created your profile was June 30, 2025. But they picked people that had created their profile from years back till March 12, 2025. They will not pick you because you were not quick to actually create your own express entry profile. Do you understand? So eligibility for express entry, for those that know already, the criteria for each of the express entry profiles or programs are listed below. For Canadian experience class, your work experience, you need to have at least 1 year of Canadian work experience within the past 3 years. For many people, you are not yet in Canada, so you cannot actually do that. You understand? Job offer or certification for CEC draws, it is not required. You understand? Language requirements, the tier 0 or tier 1, and you need to have CLB 7. That is 7778 in IELTS in all abilities like speaking, listening, reading, writing. And the tier system has to, for tier 2 or tier 3, minimum is CLB 5 in all what they call it, abilities. For the education, not required, so you can have secondary school or nothing. For the selection factors, not applicable. For settlement funds, not required because you already have a job. But when it comes under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, which many of us actually would get selected through if you are from abroad, if you are not currently in Canada, you need at least 1 year of continuous paid work experience in the last 5-10 years. Not required, you don't need a job offer or certification. Your minimum CLB for IELTS, LP, PT, TEF Canada, TCF Canada is CLB 7, either in English or French, in all the speaking, listening, reading, and writing. You understand? You must have a Canadian education credential like certificate, diploma, or degree. Or if you don't have a Canadian credential, you can have a foreign credential with a valid educational credential assessment (ECA), and you must score at least 67 points out of the 100 points on the Federal Skilled Worker Program selection grid. And lastly, you require the proof of funds, the settlement funds, unless you are currently authorized to work in Canada and have a valid job offer. And lastly, the last program is the Federal Skilled Trades Program for those that are Onishe or those that are handy people like electricians, plumber. You understand? They need 2 years of full-time work experience in this a skilled trade within the past 5 years. They must have either a valid job offer from one or two Canadian employers, or they need a certificate of qualification in a skilled trade. They need minimum of CLB 5 in speaking and listening, and minimum of CLB 4 in reading and writing in any of those tests. The education not required, so you can have secondary school diploma, nothing. Selection factors not applicable, but settlement funds is required unless currently authorized to work in Canada and you have a valid job offer. So lastly, 1 year of work experience must be a minimum of 1,560 hours. That is up to 30 hours per week that you were working in your work experience. And the work experience may have been gained working full-time or the equivalent number of hours part-time. And the certificate of qualification demonstrates that the holder is authorized to work in a skilled trades in Canada, confirming that they have met the certification requirements for the appropriate regulatory body. So for more information on eligibility requirements under express entry, you can visit the Canadian immigration website, canada.ca or cic.gc.ca. So thank you very much, everyone. Do we have any other questions apart from the ones that we have responded to? If we don't have any other questions, don't forget, every week we come on live at least once a week, and we come on to talk about trending topics, to talk about news articles, to talk about updates that we get from the Canadian Immigration Body, IRCC, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. We also talk about success stories of people, or sad stories sometimes, of people that came into Canada, and those that have succeeded in Canada, those that have not. We also talk about things related to language studies, to exam preparation, to career development, to business development in Canada, and everything in between. So if you want to actually learn everything about how you can come into Canada or any other country and succeed abroad, then please make sure to subscribe or to like and to follow. You understand, our account. Don't forget to share with your friends and with your family. Don't forget as well to actually inform more people about this. And I hope to see you in our next live session. So thank you very much, everyone, once again, and do have a lovely day ahead. Au revoir. Bye for now.